Welcome to the Union Labor Advisory Network podcast, where our mission is to support, educate, and promote informative content relative to the union labor community. For more information, a calendar of events, and union news and updates, you can visit our website, ulanetwork.com, and follow us on all social media platforms by searching ULA Network and or the Union Labor Advisory Network. And now, on to the show.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Union Labor Advisory Network. I'm Mike Fina. Today, I'm extremely proud and privileged to have Teamsters Local 294 on with us again to learn a little bit more about what they're doing within their area in Albany as well as in the communities. We have Stanley Koniszewski, Jason Hughes, and Tony Sidoti here with us today. So, Stan, Jason, and Tony, thank you very much for being with us today to learn a little bit more about what's going on within Albany and within your local. So, Stan, thanks for being here. I know you'll take us off from the top, and maybe you can give us a little bit more about what's going on within the advocacy and political area within the Teamsters today.
You know, politically, it's not just the Teamsters out there advocating. We actually are collaborating a lot more with coalitions and stuff that we never worked with before, and they're actually supporting our efforts just as much as we support them lately. Our members have a interest now in the antitrust bill that's going on, and they have a lot of interest in the workplace, things that we haven't seen in a long time. The working conditions are being addressed through the temp bill, the Warehouse Workers Injury Reduction Act, bills that we're working with other coalitions on to try to get a push through the Senate and Assembly and made into law. Not only will benefit the Teamster members, but all of New York State. This is unheard of. All three joint councils have been working together effortlessly for the last 3 years. 804, we had Vinny Perone and his guys up here. We had Lupa Conte, 456 and his guys up here for the temp bill. We had a rally of over 100 Teamsters in the Capitol. Loud and proud. That's all I can say, loud and proud. When we walk through the Capitol, everybody knows who the Teamsters are. They've known who we were for the last 100 years. They thought that we might have took a nap for a little bit, but we didn't. We're bigger, we're stronger, we're moving forward, and we're pushing bills that matter not just to our members, but all of New York State. We want New York State to be a worker state. And with us organizing and growing bigger and faster right now, the best thing we can do is keep going down there, making sure that we're pushing for bills for our members, for not just our members, but all New York State, and making them understand why the Teamsters are as strong as they are and been around as long as they have, because workers' rights and working conditions have always been at the forefront of the Teamsters. We've always been in the fight for workers' rights, also for working conditions. We do walks through the warehouse all the time, checking safety conditions. You don't get that at a non-union shop. You don't have someone come in there and telling management that these working conditions are not suitable for their employees. Teamsters do that. Not only do we do that, we go down to the Capitol and we fight for bills to make the working conditions in those non-union warehouses just as good as our working conditions.
Absolutely, Stan. I appreciate that. Appreciate your information. Again, talking about all those particular, fighting for the members' rights. Another big thing, Teamsters and all the trades are doing really now, and when you look at it, it's really, educating the members on what they have, the career opportunities that are out there for them as well. And Jason, I know you talked about some education and training, and we have Tony Sidoti, who's the training director as well. Maybe you guys could elaborate a little bit more on what's going on with the Teamsters, what you guys are doing at the local, and from an educational standpoint and training standpoint.
Sure. So yeah, like you said, we've got our driver instructor here, Tony Sidoti. He does a great job, but I'll let him tell you a little bit about what he does. But as far as, education on my part, I try to attend as many as these high school job fairs and career fairs in our community. It's important to keep the younger generation involved and educated on the unions and what the unions can do. And, show them that, hey, you have a career. We can get you a career job with the great benefits, great pay, pensions. So it's something that we need to educate these high school students on, that hey, when you get out of high school, you get into a Teamster job, we have a program that offers a free CDL training, that costs anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 usually. So now, we offer that to members for free. So it's a good opportunity for them to get out and, expand their career opportunities. And Tony here is the man that does all that training. So I'll let Tony tell you a little bit about what he does.
Yes. Thanks, Tony. Thanks.
Yeah. Excuse me. The program started, I think this September, it'll be 24 years since it started. And like Stanley said, we put at least on the low side 700 people through. A lot of people never drove a standard or any kind of truck. They get it. They finally get their license, and they're able to advance at their job or at their workplace to a higher position, more money, or move on to another company with more money involved and stuff like that.
And Tony, I mean, again, I know prior to our call today, we learned a little bit more about your background and history. Can you elaborate about your career as a Teamster as well? I know you mentioned you've been there for quite some time, and then how you transitioned into as a training director, coordinator at the local now.
Well, my father's uncle owned a freight company, Teamsters, of course. And as a young boy, 10, 11 years old, you'd be hanging out there every day, and you'd learn stuff and learn how to drive and fuel and everything that went with it. And then when I was 18, I worked on the docks and for 34 years. And in the meantime, this program had started up. I started doing this on the weekends, and when I retired, just became a full-time job.
That's great. That's great.
Now, Mike, let me add to this a little bit, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
I'm proud of these two guys. Most Teamsters don't realize that all Teamsters are organizers. Sean O'Brien, fourth generation Teamster. Well, his father and grandfather were an organizer because they organized him. Tony's father was an organizer because he organized him. Made him a Teamster. So we're all organizers. Training and education is all about bringing new members in, growing faster, better. One of the things that I see with training and education, that's an organizing tool. Jason might be able to go out and organize a 50-person barn. That's great that Jason did that. Tony's organized 700 members without knowing it. He's put 700 Teamsters through that training and education program. Since August, we've had a Class B CDL program that we ran into, building our construction end of things bigger and better because we needed ready mix drivers. Before, we only had a Class A driving program. That was great. That was great for our UPS members, our Cisco, Pepsi, Coke, the Class A drivers. Construction-wise, if you got them a Class A, they were more suited to go find a Class A job. Class B program, we figured out that we could get them through faster and we could start filling those slots. Now you have them into a Teamster's job, and they decide whether they like that career path or not. And if they choose that they'd rather try to go to a freight end of the things or repurpose it to a different Teamster job, then they could go through the Class A program after. But that's why I'm saying training and education is such an important part of the organizing movement that the Teamsters have. The more Teamster drivers we put through that program, the more fathers are going to have their sons going through that program, the more Teamsters we're going to put behind the wheel. Thanks to the training and education that's been going on here for the last 25 years. Thanks to Tony. And moving forward, Tony and Jason have a good relationship. We're out there at these BOCES and stuff. You go to one of these, career paths, BOCES or whatever, you try to, get them brought into the Teamsters, put them into the driving program. Now they're in a Teamster job. And best part of all, it's great for our pension. Every ready mix driver I'm putting out in the field right now, that employer is contributing into that pension. The more ready mix guys, more construction guys I put out in the field is making that pension greater. So it's a multi-tool task here. At the center of it, we have the training and education. It's that important to the Teamsters. It's that important to Local 294. Can't say it enough. I'm grateful to Tony for all his dedication. Our training and education program has grown to the point now we have 2 instructors. We actually have a DMV tester. We're going to have our own tester. We're going to be a one-stop shop. Tony's very modest about the program that he's helped create here in the last 25 years. He's done a great job advocating for the needs of that training and education program. 294 President Quackenbush, we're very progressive. We want to move forward. We want to make it bigger and stronger. So we have a second trainer. We have a DMV tester. So we'll be able to test on site. The same training course that they're going to be working on every day is the same training course that they're going to be tested on. Not only that, it's like a BOCES or a school here itself now. We have 2 trainers a day coming in here with 4 or 5 guys going out each day. I mean, you can't get much better than that.
Absolutely not. And Stan, I know you mentioned before, or even last time, I think you were able to get some grant money through Workforce Development Institutes for
Correct.
some of the, I guess, a simulator or those particular trucks that are out there. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit about that as well.
Yes. Our first grant through Workforce Development was for $99,000. That was our down payment on our Class B dump truck, which was a $237,000 truck. When me and Tony were out there looking at trucks, Teamsters do it best because when it comes to Teamsters, safety is the most important thing. We couldn't go out and get a used truck for the simple reason most of them were rusted. Most of them were needed a lot of maintenance. It wasn't a good view for Teamsters because we want a Teamster to know the truck. We want a Teamster to be safe, especially when you're training them. They're not going to know, different things about slack adjustment, everything else. You can't put them in a truck that's not ready to roll down the road, nor would they know the difference between, the cams being out on the brakes or anything like that. You just had to be ready to roll with the safest piece of equipment, and that's what Teamster 294 did. Go out and get the safest piece of equipment to train our new members on, and then explain things that they're going to find out in the field that might be wrong with a truck, when it comes to pre-trips and stuff. So they know what a well-working truck should work like. So when they get in a truck that doesn't feel like that, there might be something wrong. Look at it, check it, get out and get underneath there and see what's going on. And also, we just did $75,000 through Workforce Development through our training and education. We've ordered a truck simulator. Now, this truck simulator is going to enable us to, because we're going to make it a mobile unit. We're going to have it in the back of a trailer. We're going to tow it to our members. We're going to get out to see more members this way. Like I said before, in the 1950s, your dad brought you to the Union Hall. Well, Now Dad's taking you to ballet and soccer practice. So he's not making it down here on the first Sunday of the month. I wish you would. But at the end of the day, we're proactive at 294. We got to be out there with our members. So we're going to have a mobile unit. Not only are we going to have a mobile unit, we're going to have a mobile office for when we do our strike lines, when we're out there organizing. This trailer is going to be wrapped with 294 Teamsters Proud, without a doubt. And we're going to be out there with our members, and we're going to be able to not only cross-train warehouse guys to see if they have any driving skills and want to get behind a truck, but Teamsters that already have their CDLs, that have already been out there for 10, 15, 20 years, are going to be able to get in that truck and simulate situations. I'd rather have somebody, hit a car or go off the road in a simulator than in real life. So if we could help promote safety and help put them in the situation in a simulator instead of having it happen in real life to try to protect our members and the community, that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely.
It's a great program. And also when we get out to, Jason's going out organizing to these schools and stuff, we'll be able to get kids in there. Today, let's be honest, you got to be interactive. Nothing's more interactive than a simulator that's going to ride like a roller coaster if you don't know how to shift.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, from a social media standpoint, Jason, and all of you, hats off to your local for such an initiative, and then promoting these particular objectives, agendas, and what you guys are doing. And as you talked about, some of the benefits of the training is an organizing tool because you're getting the best in class training. You're bringing in the best in class equipment. So if someone wants to learn about this particular trade or working, you're going through a training facility, you're meeting somebody like Tony to be able to facilitate that's got the experience, and now you're using the new technology that's out there to make sure that people are trained safely and then can move seamlessly into a professional career within your local. And for me, seeing a lot of these AI and VR type learning initiatives going in through all the different building trades as well as Teamsters and essential worker facilities or training facilities today helps them get in, because today's, younger generation, everybody's working off computers. They're familiar with like video games and how things work. And now you're looking at an iron worker or a welder or different groups, and they're using VR glasses and just welding like it's a video game essentially, but it's real life, or you're on a beam 300 stories in the air. And I think from a training standpoint, it lowers the risk of risk for somebody new as an apprentice coming into the facility, into that particular trade or profession, and then it allows them to step into a little bit more risky job. As the training, I guess, progresses, you start to you advance into that particular that job. So I love it. I see it, and I think that's where you're talking about some of the BOCES schools or high schools now trying to transition the way people are learning today into these particular professional careers. And again, hats off to you to be able to work through workforce development organizations to get that particular grant money, because you are an educational, economic job force within these organizations. And for us to be able to promote it on different channels and media platforms is extremely important, I believe. And again, I just want to give hats off to all of you for what you guys do, and I'm proud to support and work with you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
Now our training and education program, we're growing it. We're getting bigger and faster. We're coming up with new ways to get out to our members with the simulator and stuff. And the important thing to understand is Teamsters always been at the forefront of change. We're ahead of the curve. And the one thing that I noticed out there, since we're talking about social media and everything, it's not like it used to be. You came to work, you didn't have a phone, you got a paper map out, and the old guy in the room gave you some pointers on how to make it to New York City. I spent 8 years in New York City delivering. It was without GPS. I don't know how we ever did it back then, but we never had GPS. It was the old guy in the room while you're getting your coffee that taught you how to drive. And those were the same guys that gave you pointers. I still remember getting a road test in an ice storm. And the reason I got the job is because I didn't wreck the truck, and the guy was so amazed that I could downshift so well. That was how I got the job.
Right.
With that being said, the new generation is not focused on communicating with the older guys in the room, learning those skill sets from the older guy in the room. And I'm not picking on Tony just because he's a little bit older than me. But at the end of the day, they're going to relate more with a computer screen or a video game. And we're going to use that as a tool to get the safety into their head. John D. Simone, I still remember the guy. He's still kicking. I mean, I had 20 some years of coffee with him, teaching me how to be a professional driver. Because when it comes to the Teamsters, the one thing we do right is professional, pride, quality. Above all, safety is the only thing that we ever been concerned with. Any job you have with the Teamsters, safety is a big priority. Any union shop, I could say, safety is a big priority. You go to a non-union shop, they don't have a concern with, fluorescent vests or any of this, quality work boots. You go look at a truck driver out there, you can tell what a Teamster is because he has steel toe boots on. All right. You see a non-union guy, he's going to have Crocs or sneakers on. That's how you can tell if he's union or not.
Gotcha. Well, I want to thank you. And I know this is going to be on a regular occurrence. We're going to put some cadence around this to make sure that we get and address some of the issues or opportunities within your local, as well as Joint Council 18. And me coming out of Brooklyn, New York, Joint Council 16, and some of the locals here in New York City is where I, hang my hat. But to be able to promote and support, as well as educate the market on all these career opportunities and what the Teamsters is doing, is what the Union Labor Advisory Network is all about. And again, we are proud and privileged to support you. And if you ever need us, we are here to do whatever we can to promote the cause and your objectives. So
thanks, Mike.
I thank you very much, and we'll be looking out. And if you haven't found Teamsters Local 294 on all the socials, from TikTok to Instagram to Facebook and LinkedIn, as well as their website, make sure you check them out. Great organization, and again, proud to support them. So thank you very much.
Always look for the thumbs up.
Always look for those thumbs up. Yes, exactly. Without a doubt, those are the photos. That's the thing.
That's right. Proud Teamsters here.
Thanks again for your time, guys, and look forward to reconnecting with you both, all of you, soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Got it.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Union Labor Advisory Network podcast. To stay in the loop, we ask that you please visit our website, ulanetwork.com, and sign up for our newsletter, where we send you updates relative to the union labor community directly to your inbox. Thank you for supporting labor, and we'll see you next time.